You know, there's a threat that can silently tear apart your home's foundation, mess with its structure, and create some serious health risks, all without you even knowing it's happening until it's way too late. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that unseen enemy, water damage. We're drawing on some fantastic insights from the pros at Victory Water Damage Restoration to really get to the bottom of this.
Come on, we've all been there, right? You see that little discolored spot on the ceiling, or maybe you hear that faint drip, drip, drip coming from under the sink. It's so easy to just ignore it, put it on a to-do list for later. But what if that tiny little leak is actually the start of a countdown? How much trouble can it really cause?
Well, the answer is a lot more than you think, and it happens fast. The moment that water shows up, a clock starts ticking. You've got this tiny, critical window. We're talking just 24 to 48 hours. After that, guess what? It's not just a water problem anymore. It's officially a mold problem. And trust me, that is a whole different ballgame.
So you gotta wonder, right? Why do some homes seem like total magnets for water damage, while others stay bone dry? Well, it's almost never just one thing. Usually it's a whole bunch of factors coming together to create a perfect storm. Let's dig into what these high-risk environments actually look like.
Yeah, it's rarely a single event, like one giant storm or one burst pipe. The real danger, the thing you have to watch out for, is that combination of your environment, the ground your house is sitting on, and even the age of your pipes. All those things together can create a ticking time bomb.
Let's use Millington, Tennessee as a perfect case study. You can see how 4 huge risk factors all collide in one place. First up, you've got that humid climate, which is basically a welcome mat for mold. Then there's the heavy clay soil, which expands and contracts, cracking foundations. Add to that the aging pipes you find in older homes, a classic source of hidden leaks. And to top it all off, it's right near a river, so it's prone to flooding. Any one of these is a problem, but all of them together, that's a recipe for disaster.
And what's the result of this perfect storm? Well, the numbers don't lie. Insurance data shows that folks in Millington file water damage claims at a rate that is a whopping 40% higher than the rest of the state. That's no coincidence. It's the direct result of all those risk factors we just talked about piling on top of each other.
Okay, so we've got a handle on the risks, but let's talk about the consequences. Because the damage from water goes way, way beyond that puddle you can see on the floor. We need to talk about the hidden damage, the stuff that's happening behind your walls and under your floors.
Now this right here is a super important distinction every single homeowner should understand, the difference between mitigation and restoration. Think of mitigation like the paramedics. Their job is to stop the bleeding. It's that first, immediate emergency action to get the water out and stop things from getting worse. Restoration, on the other hand, is the full recovery. That's the rebuilding and repairing part that makes your home whole again.
You know, the scariest leaks are usually the ones you can't even see, but your house, it tries to warn you. That musty smell you can't quite track down, or paint that's bubbling for no reason, or floors that are starting to warp. Those aren't just quirky things old houses do. They are giant red flags screaming that you have a hidden moisture problem.
And this quote, wow, it's pretty chilling because it confirms our worst fear, right? By the time you actually see the problem, the serious damage, the mold, the structural stuff has probably already happened. It just hammers home why waiting around is the worst possible strategy.
Okay, enough doom and gloom about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. I know a water damage event feels totally chaotic, like everything's out of control. But for trained professionals, it's a situation that calls for a very specific, methodical playbook designed to bring order back from that chaos.
The whole professional response really boils down to 3 critical phases. Phase 1 is all about speed, emergency extraction. Get that standing water out now. Phase 2 is the sciencey part, structural drying, which pulls all that trapped moisture out of the building materials. And phase 3 is the final step, reconstruction, where they rebuild anything that couldn't be saved. See, it's a clear, structured plan.
So let's zoom in on that second phase, structural drying, because this is where things get really cool and scientific. This is so much more than just setting up some fans and calling it a day. The pros use something called psychrometric calculations, which is really just a fancy term for the science of how air and moisture behave, to figure out exactly where to place these super powerful dehumidifiers and air movers. The goal is literally to pull the moisture right out of the wood, the drywall, and the insulation.
So what does this actually look like on the ground? Well, here's a pretty typical timeline. A professional crew should be at your door within the first hour. All that standing water, it should be gone within 24 hours. Then, for the next 3 to 5 days, it's all about that scientific drying process we just talked about. And only when the moisture meters say the structure is completely dry does the reconstruction begin. It's a step-by-step approach that makes sure the problem is solved for good, not just covered up.
All right, so knowing the restoration process is half the battle. The other half? It's navigating all the paperwork, the insurance claims, the bureaucracy. So in this next section, we're going to arm you with the essential info you need to deal with contractors and your insurance company. This is about putting you back in control. Okay, listen up, because this might be the single most important piece of advice in this entire explainer. Before you hire anyone, you need to ask them one question. Are you IICRC-certified and you follow the S500 standard? The IICRC is basically the official governing body for the industry, and their S500 standard is the rulebook. Following this isn't just a suggestion, it's what your insurance company is going to expect. It's a non-negotiable. It's also really important to know that not all water is created equal. From a professional standpoint, it's a huge deal. The IICRC breaks water down into 3 categories. Category 1 is clean water, think a broken supply line. Category 2 is gray water, which is a bit contaminated, like from an overflowing washing machine. And Category 3 is black water, which is the really nasty, highly contaminated stuff from sewage or floods. The category of water completely changes the game for safety and cleanup. And now, the million-dollar question, is insurance going to cover this? The 2 words you absolutely have to remember are sudden and accidental. So a pipe that bursts out of nowhere? Usually covered. An appliance that just gives up the ghost? Probably covered. But damage from a slow leak you knew about but didn't fix, or from groundwater flooding? That's almost always excluded from a standard policy, which is why having separate flood insurance is so important. You have to know this stuff before you have a problem.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground here, from the risks and the science to the nuts and bolts of restoration. So now let's boil all of that information down into the key takeaways that are going to help you protect your home and handle a crisis if it ever happens.
If you only remember 4 things from this entire explainer, please make it these 4 rules. First, act fast. That clock is your enemy and you have to beat it to prevent mold. Second, document everything. Become a detective. Take photos, videos, notes. Your insurance company will thank you. Third, hire smart. Don't even think about working with a company that isn't IICRC certified. And fourth, do your homework. Read your insurance policy and understand it before you ever need it.
And all of this brings us to one final and maybe most important question. Getting your home dry after damage is one thing, but the real win is being prepared in the first place. So as we wrap this up, just ask yourself, your home might be dry right now, but is it truly prepared for whatever comes next? Because shifting from reacting to a crisis to proactively preparing for one, that's the ultimate way to protect your home.